All right, let's talk about the Lang universe. If you've been messing around with agentic AI, you've definitely heard these names thrown around. LangChain, LangGraph, LangSmith. It's a lot, and it can get super confusing, right? So today we're going to cut right through all that noise and give you a really clear picture of how this whole ecosystem works. Okay, let's dive in.
This is really the big question, isn't it? You know these tools are important for building apps with large language models, but figuring out which one to grab for your project and when, that's the real trick. By the time we're done here, you're going to know exactly which tool is the right fit.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll just acknowledge the confusion everyone's feeling. Then we'll tackle LangChain, LangGraph, and LangSmith one by one. And finally, we'll put it all back together so you can see the big picture.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about why we're even having this conversation. The whole world of agentic AI is just blowing up with new tools and new terms almost every day.
And if you've ever felt like you're just drowning in a sea of jargon, trust me, you are not alone. Our goal today is to swap out that confusion for confidence and just give you a simple, practical way to think about each of these tools. Let's start with the OG, LangChain. This is your foundation. Think of it as the go-to tool for when you need to build an app that follows a pretty clear step-by-step path, a straight line. To really get LangChain, let's start with a problem every developer runs into. A standard LLM, like GPT, it's been trained on the whole public internet. That's great. But if you ask it about your company's specific internal refund policy, it's going to have no clue. It just hasn't seen your private documents. So, the solution is this really cool technique called retrieval augmented generation, or as everyone calls it, RAG. The whole idea is pretty simple. You basically give the LLM your documents so it can look things up or retrieve the info to answer very specific questions. Now, making a RAG system work involves a few steps like these. You got to get the docs, chop them up into smaller pieces, store them somewhere you can search easily, and then pull out the right pieces when a user asks a question. And yeah, you could code all of that from scratch, but that's where a framework makes your life so much easier.
And this is exactly what LangChain was built for. It gives you all these pre-built components to just snap together, connecting these steps into what it calls a chain or a workflow. The key thing to remember here is that in a LangChain setup, the LLM is just one part of a predefined process. It's not off making wild autonomous decisions. But what happens when your problem isn't a straight line? What if it's got twists, turns, and requires actual decisions along the way? Well, that's when we need to go beyond a simple chain. Just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got a simple question. What's the refund policy? LangChain and RAG handle that perfectly. But on the right, that's a whole different beast. I want to exchange my t-shirt isn't a single question. It's a task. It's the beginning of a whole back and forth process that's going to require actions and decisions. And that leads us to the next big challenge. How in the world do we build something that can handle that kind of complex task? Something that might need to check inventory, look up an order, and this is a big one, try again if one of those steps fails. The answer is you build an agent. An agent is a much smarter system. Think of it like a little project manager. It takes a big goal, breaks it down into smaller steps, and then uses a bunch of different tools to get those steps done, changing its plan as it gets new information. So for our t-shirt exchange, the agent's toolkit would be pretty stacked. It needs to read policy docs, maybe hit a database for order info, call an API to see if the new shirt is in stock, and maybe even talk to some shipping software. And crucially, it has to be smart enough to retry a step if it fails. And this is exactly what LangGraph is for. It's a framework designed from the ground up to build these powerful, stateful agents. Instead of a linear chain, it thinks in terms of a graph. And that graph structure is what lets you build in loops, conditional logic, and retries, all the things you absolutely need for a real agent. So let's put them head to head. LangChain is linear, reactive, perfect for simple chatbots and RAG. LangGraph is stateful, built on a graph. It's made for complex agents that need to run in cycles and make decisions. So think LangChain for a predefined path, LangGraph for a journey with choices. Okay, so you've used LangChain or LangGraph, you've built your masterpiece of an LLM app, you push it to production, and now a completely new set of problems pops up. How do you actually know what's happening inside that black box? Is it even working correctly? Are your token costs about to send you bankrupt? And when something inevitably breaks, how on earth do you figure out what went wrong? This is where LangSmith comes in.
Now, Langsmith isn't for building, it's an observability platform. Its entire job is to be the control panel for your LLM apps, letting you see everything that's going on so you can debug, monitor, and evaluate them. And this is key, no matter what framework you used to build them.
And what you can track is so useful. With Langsmith, you can see a step-by-step trace of every single call your agent makes. You can see exactly how many tokens it's using, how fast it's responding, and you can track its performance over time to see if it's getting better or worse. And we're not talking about fuzzy metrics. We're talking about hard numbers. You can literally drill down and see that one specific interaction used exactly 390 tokens. That kind of detail is absolutely critical when you're trying to manage costs and make your app run efficiently. Okay, so we've looked at all the individual pieces. Now, let's just zoom out for a second and see how they all snap together to create this complete system for building and managing your LLM applications. This chart right here really says it all. LangChain is your assembly line, perfect for building those simple linear workflows. LangGraph is your dynamic decision tree. It's for building complex, cyclical agents that can actually reason and adapt. And Langsmith, that's the control panel for the whole factory, giving you the visibility to monitor, debug, and improve everything you've built. So there you have it. The Lang universe isn't such a mystery after all. You've got the assembly line, you've got the decision tree, and you've got the control panel. The only question left is, what amazing things are you going to build with them?